Chapter 73, Letter of Glory. Gol, the person in charge of the National Security Bureau, was stunned for a long time, and then he let out a long sigh. China is too confident. This report dragged out all the characteristics, habits, and restraint methods of the monsters in the third round. He informed the world there is no worry about being overtaken by them. Obviously, after Huaxia killed all the monsters in the country, he began to worry for them. I'm afraid they won't be able to deal with the monster. This outrageous national self-confidence, he smiled bitterly, feeling a sense of powerlessness in his heart. China, before the civilization trial, he had a certain understanding of China. Despite hundreds of years of decline, being divided and bullied, however, China is still in the rolling technological torrent, catching up from behind and rising to its current position in just a few decades, second in the world. Military, aviation, people's livelihood, aerospace, industry, precision processing, medical, education and other fields, all are among the best in the world. Any country that could achieve such achievements in just a few decades would have been blown away, but China is not like this. From top to bottom, 1.4 billion people, almost everyone takes it for granted. It seems they think so from the bottom of their hearts that China should sit in that position, nothing to show off. And now, after several rounds of monsters coming, China's self-confidence is unprecedentedly expanded. No one thinks that China will perish. Look at their Gol country having been shrouded in gloom. The people are demoralized, pessimistic and lost mental state. A sharp contrast. Sakura country, Security Services Department, China, this is crazy. They actually shared such confidential research for free? Silence. After reading the research report, everyone was silent. It seems that in today's China, they can see the celestial kingdom that all nations came to visit thousands of years ago. As their suzerain country, the Tang dynasty had the spirit of looking down upon the world and looking down upon foreign countries. Why wasn't China wiped out back then? A certain rightist clenched his teeth and said bitterly, throughout history, that was China's weakest period, but Huaxia is still extremely tenacious, and the Sakura kingdom has failed to turn it into its own vassal despite all the efforts of the country. No one expected it. Just 100 years, the country that was amazed at the sight of a train has come to the point where they look up to it. President, China has issued another official statement. Suddenly, a staff member walked in. Suddenly it attracts everyone's attention. Everyone quickly looked at the new statement - letter to the nation. At the same time, at a time when countries around the world are in dire straits, China once again shocked the world by issuing a letter to the nation. In this statement, China directly talks to countries around the world. In view of the tense international situation, it can provide demon mirror identification services to neighboring countries to uncover all hidden monsters. Of course, this service is paid. Each time it is used, 200 monster corpses need to be delivered to China. As soon as these words came out, it was like dropping a bombshell into deep water. What? China's demon mirror is the mysterious weapon that allowed the 002 imitator to reveal its prototype in the second round? China is actually willing to give this secret away, use weapons to provide aid to other countries? But each time it is used, it requires 200 monster corpses, which is too expensive. Yes, our country's last one. I killed 137 monsters in Luansai, but I can't even pay the fee? People from all over the world were the first to react, extremely shocked. China, this mentality is too big. After solving the third round of monster crisis, he was actually willing to take out the mysterious weapon, demon mirror, to support other countries. It's just, every time you use the demon mirror, it's quite expensive. Just the usage fee, you will need the corpses of 100 monsters. And it only provides assistance to neighboring countries, which is destined to miss them, the United States. Gol and Sakura country, China cabinet. Several old men sat together, handling daily government affairs. The old man from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs looked at everyone, smiled and said, "There is news from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that 7 small countries have contacted us and applied for demon mirror assistance." Hearing this, Wang Yu and others all showed expressions of joy. This message to the states was drafted by Yang Mo and requested to be published in the name of China. After deliberations at the cabinet meeting, all of them voted in favor and unanimously agreed to assist neighboring countries. Dean Yang's move can be said to have accomplished multiple things with one stone. The old man from the military nodded with admiration. Not only has it solved the domestic shortage of monster corpses, it also helps neighboring countries identify monsters and slow down their country's loss of control. At the same time, China's international prestige has been greatly improved. Everyone nodded. This is also the reason why they unanimously agreed to the letter to the states. On the one hand, the 12-sided crystal cultivation experiment led by Yang Mo requires a large number of monster corpses to be consumed, and domestic, there is always a shortage of monster corpses. China, with its vast territory and abundant resources, is in short supply of monsters. Instead of sending troops abroad to hunt monsters, it is better to use this method to exchange interests, thus importing a large number of monsters. On the other hand, help neighboring countries identify hidden monsters and help maintain a safe and stable surrounding environment. At least, for some time to come, China will be protected from the threat of its neighbors losing control. I don't know what the crystal can cultivate. Wang Yu pondered, looking forward to it. Now, scientific research teams from various countries are conducting crazy research on dodecahedral crystals, but their research directions are all in the direction of human body absorption and improvement, same as the United States. He took the extraordinary route and cultivated a large number of awakened ones. Yang Mo rejected all opinions. Lead China's scientific research team to research in another direction. By the way, how is controllable nuclear fusion technology digested by the Ministry of Science and Technology? An old man in the lead suddenly spoke and looked at the old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology. That not long ago, the technology that Yang Mo brought from Jisha Academy is crucial to China. The seminar has just ended. The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology did not neglect, and said solemnly, but the controllable nuclear fusion technology is too complicated. To fully master and apply it, it will take a long time. Some time. How long? Half a month. The old man from the Ministry of Science and Technology took a deep breath and added, in half a month, our country can try to build the first controllable nuclear fusion energy station. Everyone heard this. I was very excited. The world's first controllable nuclear fusion energy station represents a revolutionary breakthrough in human technological civilization. Quite literally. 2 Controllable nuclear fusion energy stations can supply the energy needed by the entire China. Chapter 74 Monsters Import Business. Its production capacity is efficient and continuous, providing nearly unlimited energy and no pollution. Once the energy station is built, China's technological development will no longer have shackles. In a short time, the chain reaction generated will drive the comprehensive development of various industrial systems across the country. Lijiuo. As a small country surrounding China, after seeing the letter to the nation, I immediately submitted an application for assistance to China. It didn't take long. I received an official notification from China that the Demon Mirror will be launched at 4 p.m. China time, lasts 12 hours. After receiving the notification, high-level officials responded quickly and mobilized all troops to deploy across the country. Try to take advantage of these 12 hours to find out all the monsters and kill them on a large scale. On the same day, 4 p.m. a bright full moon arrived as promised and rose over the country, radiating all territories of the country. In an instant, the monsters lurking among ordinary people have all been exposed. 001 Immortal. 002 Imitator. 003 Loudspeaker. When the last round of civilization trials was settled, the voice said that there were 12,874 monsters in their country. At this time, all are revealed under the power of the Demon Mirror. Many senior executives also found out his most trusted subordinates are all disguised as 002 imitators. There are monster undercovers lurking in the middle and senior levels of each department. In an atmosphere of panic. A battle about the continuation of race and civilization has quietly begun. 12 hours later, within the territory of Li country, the brutal battle finally came to an end. In order to suppress these monsters, militaries in various places have used a large number of super conventional weapons to bomb all targets, including civilians, indiscriminately. The first to be set on fire, naturally, he is the most threatening 002 imitator. At the same time, the 001 undead, which has been promoted to the 3rd level, has also caused huge casualties to the military. Fortunately, with the 003 loudspeaker research report provided by China for free, all of them wore noise-canceling and variable frequency military headphones. Restrained 003 loudspeaker. It is dangerous and dangerous, won this tragic battle. Successfully killed 374 monsters from various places and killed most of the 002 imitators. The remaining monsters all fled in all directions, without gathering an army to fight them. Obviously, they also understand that gathering together will only make them die faster. That night, China Monster Research Institute. 200 monster corpses were imported here. The first time transported to the cultivation warehouse, the 12-sided crystal was already full of cracks, trembling slightly, and quickly devouring these monster corpses. Like someone who has been hungry for several days. A short time, more than 10 monsters were swallowed by the crystal, disappeared without a trace. The cracks on the surface of the crystal are becoming more and more dense. The jasper-colored germ slowly poked its head out, growing quietly. 0.1 centimeter, 0.2 centimeters, 0.3 centimeters. Click, accompanied by a crisp sound. This indestructible 12-sided crystal that cannot be destroyed by any technological means was completely shattered. Tiny roots appeared. They quietly took root on the monster's corpse, hungrily devouring all the energy it can devour. Dean, its devouring speed has increased again. The researchers in the cultivation warehouse looked surprised and frowned. According to this trend, at least 300 monster corpses will be eaten every day. As the seeds grow, its demand for nutrition has obviously doubled. It doesn't matter, the monster corpse is enough. Yang Mo waved his hand, rich and powerful. Around China, but there is still a large group of neighboring countries queuing up to apply for permission to use the Demon Mirror. And Demon Mirror, high quality and low price, the experience is perfect. He believes there will be many repeat customers. China's monster import business may become more and more prosperous. 7 days later, Monster Research Institute, training warehouse. After devouring 2,000 monsters in a row, the roots of the 12-sided crystal became stronger and stronger. The jasper-colored germ has gradually grown into branches and stems, about half a meter high appearance, just like a very ordinary plant. It's just that this kind of plant feeds on the corpses of monsters, and its appetite is particularly amazing. What kind of plant is this? Looking at this plant, Yang Mo frowned slightly, becoming more and more curious. If he were not worried about affecting its growth, he would have taken it out and sliced it for study. Let's wait for it to fully grow first. Yang Mo's hand suppressed his curiosity and waited quietly. Today, the territory of China is extremely safe. The external neighboring countries also regained control of the country with the assistance of Demon Mirror, and avoided losing control. There are no internal or external worries. He had plenty of time to cultivate the 12-sided crystal. Look what it is. At the same time, while China was peaceful, countries around the world once again faced monster counterattacks. The 003 Loud One lurking in the territory of a great country. It has quietly developed to the second level. No more hiding. The first round of 001 undead descended were assembled, and they openly launched an attack on the big city. Plus, the assistance of the 002 imitator hidden in the dark cities after cities, falling one after another. The monsters of the three races unite and cooperate closely. The situation in various countries has plummeted like an avalanche. A short time within these large countries, more than 10 cities fell. Stronger than Wuchang. It also failed to stop the monsters' offensive, and several cities also fell. Tens of millions of people were kidnapped by monsters, played with, humiliated and killed for food. A large number of second-level and third-level monsters were born. If they didn't need a certain amount of time to digest every time they swallowed flesh and blood, they might have been born at the fourth level. For a while, people around the world are once again in panic. Everyone is worried whether their city will fall next. America, Department of Defense, Minister, our cities of Amdin and Nuka were suddenly attacked, and the defenders were unprepared. Now both cities have fallen. Jobs listened to the report from his men. Feeling extremely heavy, overnight, the global situation is completely out of control. Hidden monsters. No longer satisfied with the slow development, they all took the initiative to be exposed, and this time the monster is more cunning, directly targeted the cities of Amdin and Nuka. These two cities, one is the economic center of their country, and the other is the technological center of their country. The population is over 10 million. If we continue to use indiscriminate annihilation attacks, we can no longer say that a strong man has broken his wrists, but that he has broken his arms. Injure the enemy 800. The kind that loses 10,000 to oneself. Where is the chosen one? He took a deep breath, looking at the person in charge of the chosen one experimental plan behind him. He asked in a deep voice, when will those chosen ones succeed in breaking through to the third level? A few days ago, the Gu Raising Project achieved a huge breakthrough and raised the first level 3002 imitator from within its body. The third order crystal was taken out, left to those chosen ones for absorption. Chapter 75. The third level chosen one. Give me another 3 days. The person in charge of the chosen experimental project also knew that the situation was critical and gritted his teeth. Third order crystal contains terrifying energy. If you try rashly to fuse and absorb, the mortality rate will be extremely high. But a critical moment comes. They have no other choice but to pin their hopes on the third level chosen ones and wait for the savior hero to appear. China. Monster Research Institute. Dean, the big countries abroad may be out of control. Zhao Ziyan looked solemn and immediately reported the abnormalities abroad to Yang Imo. 3 races of monsters cooperate with each other. Intimacy. The battle force became more and more powerful, and it once again invaded the superpopulated city. They want to use the infection ability of 001 Undead to mass produce monsters of the same kind. Use this to continuously create armies of fight against humans. His heart can be killed. Don't underestimate these big countries, especially the Wuchang. Yang Imo shook his head, not worried about them losing control. Oh no, the 5 permanent members control 95% of the world's military power, have the ability to flip the table at any time. Before realizing that the situation is out of control, there will definitely be a few small mushrooms delivered to the monster. Let's have a life together between heaven and earth, the I and the past life. Except for China, other countries have nuclear pacified several of their own cities. There is one more thing. Zhao Ziyan glanced at Yang Imo secretly and whispered, after the 3 races of monsters united, several countries led by the Sakura Kingdom called on us, China, to apply for Demon Mirror assistance, but they were all rejected by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. International public opinion is now raging, accusing our country of being cold-blooded and disregarding the life and death of our fellow citizens on the earth. Sakura country is the worst critic. Compatriots? After hearing this, Yang Imo couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth a few times. Who was a compatriot with them? 100 years ago, when they invaded, they did not treat China as a fellow earthling. Thousands of years ago, when the Tang dynasty was prosperous, they were just a small country, and they didn't even dare to mention the word compatriots. Today, China once again stands on top of the world. They are even less worthy of becoming compatriots with China. Ignore them. Monsters will teach them the dignity of the humble, and how to fear the strong. Yang Imo snorted coldly. Lower your head, continue to read the classic of mountains and seas and study its secrets. 3 days later, the United States, the chosen one experimental base. A clearing. A young man with red hair and blue eyes stood in the air, suspended in midair, with a terrifying aura exuding from his body. Level 3. The world's first level 3 chosen one is finally born. Everyone was excited, hug each other and cheer. After sacrificing more than 50 chosen ones, someone was finally able to successfully absorb the crystal. Entered the 3rd level realm. Is this the realm of the demon general? Jobs raised his head and looked at the young man in amazement. The breath of the latter it gave him a palpitating feeling, as if he were looking at a volcano that might erupt at any time, and the ability to awaken in the latter is also very rare. Can control magnetism. At the 2nd level, you can control any metal attack now. I can control the magnetic field within 100 meters radius. The young man felt his own power and said excitedly, "Quick! Let the analysis researcher from the combat team come and teach him to quickly develop this ability and understand combat skills." Jobs' face lit up and he was pleasantly surprised. This ability. A bit like the legendary Magneto, with extremely strong domain-level abilities, there is huge room for development. America. City of AMD and AS, one of the most important economic centers in the United States. It has gathered a population of tens of millions and a complete set of scientific and technological facilities, affecting the economic lifeline of the country. But now IT has become a paradise for monsters. The undead 001, who has a sheep's head and a body covered with scales, wanders around from time to time, torturing and killing humans. Have fun with IT in such a uniquely blessed environment. More and more 001 undead have climbed to the 2nd level and gained the ability to infect and assimilate. Each 2nd level undead can assimilate 1 human being per day, erase its original consciousness, convert to the same race. The number of 3rd level undead that can be infected and assimilated per day is 10. In this case, the number of monsters in Amden City is increasing at a terrifying speed. The emotion of despair. It permeated the surviving crowds throughout the city. No one knows whether they will be the next food chosen by monsters. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, with the roar, military helicopters, fighter jets, and drone swarms quietly surrounded the entire city. Roar, the monsters screamed through the sky, echoing from city to city. In an instant, the glass of the window was shattered, and a terrifying amplitude shrouded it. Countless people were bleeding from their orifices and their internal organs were shattered, died suddenly on the spot. Countless people died, but the American military was not affected at all, and several divisions were dispatched at the same time from the ground and in the air in parallel. Enter the city, launched a general offensive. The monsters smiled ferociously, but they did not panic at all. After several months, many of the 001 undead who arrived first have climbed to the 3rd level. The defense is extremely terrifying, not afraid of the intensive firepower of the US military. Bravely enter the formation. The 003 loudspeaker, who had just been promoted to the 2nd level, followed closely behind, punching one by one with terrifying power. Blood mist is flying. However, the US military survived the initial panic, quickly stabilized its formation, and decisively launched large-scale weapons. Boom. 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 Anti-radiation Sidewinder missiles, AGM-179 joint surface-to-air missiles, AM-152 long-range surface-to-air missiles, F-15EX Eagle strike fighter jets and other large weapons are fully activated to fight back. It started suddenly. For a while, the monster's offensive is contained, and the offensive and defensive positions change, but the same thing, after completely letting go, the number of civilian casualties in the entire city is rising rapidly. Most of them were buried under military fire. Damn it. The Americans don't care about these civilians anymore. Let's disperse first and don't conflict with them head-on. A 003 loudspeaker roared angrily and decisively changed his strategy, scattered in all directions. However, in the sky. A young man with red hair and blue eyes walked through the air with oneself deep into their heartlands. Kill him. A third-level undead came up to him, roaring and wanting to tear the young man apart, but the next second, he only felt the blood around him crazily rewinding and pouring into his brain. Death instantly. It's more than that, the monsters near the young man seemed to be cursed. They all held their heads and howled in pain. Die. A second-level 003 loudspeaker endured the pain and threw a punch of hundreds of tons, but it hit the young man, but it didn't cause any harm. On the contrary, his fist suffered a huge backlash, exploded on the spot. Chapter 76. The United States has regained its confidence. What is China doing recently? The monster's pupils trembled slightly and it retreated in horror, but the young man did not intend to let him go. Clench a fist with your backhand, return the favor. He also threw a punch. Bang. The terrifying power hit this 003 loudspeaker, beat it into blood mist. Half a day later, the fighting gradually subsided. With the cooperation of young people and the military, most of the monsters that occupied Amdin City were killed. The remaining monsters, all of them scattered, escaped the city. Amdin City has returned to the control of the United States, the first time. The U.S. Department of Defense held a press conference to announce the good news to the world, and a scene of the young man's battle was also released. Entering the second and third level monsters is like entering a deserted land. In this battle, we killed a total of 2,421 monsters. Press conference scene. Looking at the camera, Jobs said proudly, Steve alone killed 874 monsters, most of which were second and third level monsters. Steve. It is the name of the young man. The magnetism he has mastered has been analyzed by the scientific research team and has developed a variety of combat techniques. Using the magnetic field, you can offset the gravity of the Earth and fly in the air. Strengthening magnetic energy can create an invisible protective force field on your body that isolates matter and energy. It is also possible to manipulate metal atoms to combine with other atoms at the subatomic level, thereby manipulating matter. The trace amounts of iron atoms in the blood of any living creature can also be controlled by the magnetic field, causing the blood to flow backwards, counteracting the brain, and killing the enemy instantly. That's why only Steve can crush the 001 undead, which is also the third level. They are both at the third level, but they are also strong and weak. Next, Steve will join us to continue the battle in Nuka City and rescue the civilians enslaved by monsters. To the global audience, Jobs was full of confidence and solemnly declared, walking with heroes, the great United States will be immortal forever. It didn't take long. Countries around the world, they all saw the press conferences of the United States one after another and learned the news that the United States had regained the city of Amdin. A moment, global shock. This news can be described as exciting. It gives a shot in the arm to all countries. The United States has told them through actions that as long as a third-level transcendent is born, monsters are not invincible. Steve, he is also known as the strongest extraordinary person in the world. Countless people regarded him as the savior and gained a large number of fans. Under the monster crisis, people around the world desperately need a spiritual icon, and Steve meets all the requirements perfectly. Steve is so strong. I watched the video. This is a completely crushing combat power. As expected of a superpower, in just 5 days, he transformed from a monster to a monster. Take back the city of Amdin. In other words, as long as we in Gaul can give birth to third-level extraordinary beings, we should be able to recover the 4 fallen cities. Is it still too late for me to become an American citizen? People of all countries exceedingly excited. Don't hesitate to praise and praise. Everyone's eyes are focused on the United States, although China passed the third round first, but it was automatically ignored by countries around the world, and those countries that China refused to assist with the demon mirror. At this time, he even seized the opportunity to ridicule China. China is so pretentious. I really thought it would be impossible without them. It's just that there is no sense of responsibility as a big country. Our Sakura country is also a neighboring country. What's wrong with providing us with demon mirror assistance? It's not like we don't pay. Third level transcendent, crushing super combat power, and cooperate with the United States in terms of military strength. I feel that the United States also has a chance to get a perfect SSS rating this time. Can you please come to us and help us suppress the monsters? Led by Sakura country, these countries show their loyalty to the United States by flattering others and suppressing others, trying to gain support from the United States. To deal with the domestic monster crisis. 2 days later, America, with Steve's assistance, the military recaptured Nuka City again, beheaded more than 3,000 monsters, rescued more than 12 million people who were enslaved by monsters in Nuka City. Minister, the states have heard that more than 900,000 civilians have died this time, and public resentment is widespread, and demonstrations have been launched in many places. The secretary smiled bitterly and reported on the domestic situation. Jobs was stunned for a moment, the corners of his mouth twitched. After a while, you cursed, a bunch of unruly people. If they hadn't taken action, those 12 million people would still be under the control of the monster. Let the monster develop further. It won't be long, these 12 million people will have their consciousness wiped out and assimilated into the 001 undead. The consequences are disastrous. As for the civilian casualties during the fighting, only hundreds of thousands of people died. As long as the United States can continue and move towards new life, everything will be worth it. How is the situation abroad? After Jobs calmed down, he asked again. Foreign countries have learned that we have recaptured Nuka City. Now they are even more excited than us. The foreign ministries of various countries have contacted us, hoping that we can provide them with assistance. The secretary said quickly. Hearing this, Jobs finally smiled. 2 battles in succession, the United States once again gained high international prestige and proved its international status. His confidence, which had been hit many times by China, has also been restored. Finally, the United States is about to catch up with China. By the way, what is Huaxia doing recently? Thinking of this, Jobs couldn't help but ask. The third round of trials has just begun, and China has already cleared out all the 003 loudspeakers. Since now, little half a month has passed. Speak of, thanks to China's research and analysis report on 003 loudspeaker, they were able to restrain 003's sonic attack. Otherwise, we wouldn't have regained those 2 cities so quickly. They have been providing monster mirror assistance services to neighboring countries. The secretary looked a little weird and guessed, I feel like they are very short of monster corpses. Lack of monster corpses? Jobs was a little stunned. Aren't monster corpses everywhere? Soon he then realized that China had already cleared out the 001 undead in the first round. Monsters cannot proliferate. China should be controlling the situation in neighboring countries. He pondered for a moment and murmured, in Asia, except for China, the surrounding neighboring countries are now in a precarious situation. In response to the monster crisis, China is doing very well, but in the surrounding neighboring countries, the number of monsters is rising crazily. If you don't control the game, sooner or later, it will get out of control, and a large army of monsters will be born to attack China. In fact, dozens of small countries around the world have perished, and a large number of monsters are constantly being produced in their territory. You will notify the United Nations to convene a meeting of the 5 permanent members to discuss the continuation of human civilization. Jobs took a deep breath, with strong ambition in his eyes. China, around the Control Bureau, but what he wants is to control the world and let the United States gain greater benefits from it.